Hello, it's Beverleigh here over at Crafting Chaos with another part of our Halloween series, and in this video I'm going to make the Frankenstein Monster character. Okay, so what we need to do is first of all bring up a basic shape, and for that one we're going to need to bring on this kind of rhombus kind of shape, and we're going to make it longer and bigger, and then I'm going to double click on it to expose the nodes and just drag those two out. It doesn't have to be exact, but just to give us that sort of shape for the head. I'm just going to make that a bit longer so we can see where we're going. So that's the shape that we needed for the head. So it was this one, and then all I did was clicked on it to expose the nodes and made it a little bit wider at the top than it was originally. So that's the shape that we're starting with. So next we're going to work on the ears, and what I did for this was bring on this shape and I resized them and I positioned them by doing a free rotation, and I just flipped it so that I could get the right angle. When I was happy with it, I put it on to my bigger shape like so. Okay, so I just make, again, if you want to adjust the nodes to make the shape slightly different, you can, and that's what I did. So that was my ear. So then I'm going to duplicate that, edit and flip on the vertical axes and bring it to the other side. I'm going to highlight both, line them up to the bottom, and then I'm going to select them and group them, and then we're going to weld them, edit and weld. So that's the basic head shape, and I made that green. So like I say, I just do the colour just for my purposes so I can see where I'm going with my shape. So the next thing that we're going to look at is the hair. So what I did was bring on a shape that's got some pointy edges, because what we want is some shape that we can make into the fringe of the hair, if you will. So I'm just going to duplicate that one, and I'm going to make it a little bit smaller, and I'm going to put it there, rotate it a little so it's at an angle, and then I'm going to duplicate it again, and then I'm going to rotate it back the other way like so. I'm sorry, I'm going the wrong way. So rotate it that way, and I'm going to make that a little bit shorter up there, like so. We're looking like that, and then I brought this one back on, duplicate that one, bring that across so that we've got it so like so, and then finally bring on another one of these, sorry, head it and duplicate and bring it on so that we've got that sort of hairline, if you will. Then I'm just going to select them all and weld them like so. So that's basically the hair like so. But then we just need to tidy up that top bit at the top. So all I did for that was just bring on a square, or rather a rectangle, looked at the width of this shape, which is 6.78, and then I made that shape 6.78. Sorry, 7.8. So that it's the same width as the hair, so that when I get that in the right position, it's going to fit on top of the hair itself. So I'm just going to select both and line them up to the left. Could do it to the right, but I'm going to do it to the left. And then that should be more or less in line with the shape. If it's not quite, if you think it just needs to be a little bit smaller, just adjust it slightly, because what you're looking for is that it's not overhanging your hair at that side. You want it to weld it, but you don't want it to be too far over so that it looks odd. So I'm just going to select both now and weld, and then we'll have a look what we've got. So that's what we've got now. So that's the shape we've got. It might be a little bit too big, but we can cut a bit off in a minute. And we're going to make it brown for the hair. I'll just close that down. So if I move that into position, it'll fit there. And as you can see, when I get it in position and I can let go, my mouse is playing up, or rather my keyboard's playing up a little bit today. So that's where we're at now. And if we send it off that way, we can see that it's similar, and they're never going to be 100% exactly the same. What I could do with is a little bit coming down here just to finish it off to the ear, and I think what I'll do is just expose the nodes, and I might expose the nodes, click on that one, and I'm going to see which one's moving where. That's the ones there. So I'm going to just close that, and I'm going to take that one out because there's two nodes there that I don't want there to be two, and then I can move this one down like so, and I'm going to do it again just a little bit more, just so that it's covering the hair. And I'm going to do the same at this side, and again if there's more than one node there you can delete them. So I'm just deleting a couple of the nodes by hitting minus, and then I'm going to drag that down, and you can see that I've adjusted the hair with the node. Okay, so what I'm looking for is a smoother finish, if you will, like so. Okay, so I'm happy with that. So I've adjusted the hair using the nodes rather than I could just do to make that a little bit taller, and I've put the hair in, and I think we're pretty much okay at that. Okay, so that's the head and the hair completed, and I'm just going to zoom back out again. So that's where we're up to. So we've got the hair, and I think I'm just going to take a little bit of that off the top because I think it's just a little bit too high. So I'm just going to use a rectangle to square that off like so. So I'm just going to pull that across, put it where I want it, select both, edit, remove the overlap, and let's have a look where we are now. Okay, I might just make the head a little bit taller so that the hair isn't showing. So if you can adjust, all this is adjustable when you do the file, and you can sort it out your own way. So I'm just making the green part that's underneath slightly bigger. It doesn't have to be perfect because we are going to put the hair on top. Send that back to green, close that down, and then I've got the scope then to fit the hair on. I'm going to bring the hair to the top and fit it on to our Frankenstein's monster. So that's the hair in position now. So we can see the ears a little bit better, a bit more defined. Yeah, I'm happy with that. So now we're going to work on this part, which is like it's meant to be the top of his shirt or his jumper or whatever. And for that shape, I used, when I find it, this one. So I brought it on and I resized it, made it thinner and longer, not quite that long, and so that when I put it next to the head, it's forming sort of a shoulder going out. And then I made another one by hitting D on the keyboard to duplicate and flipping, and then I arranged that at the other side. I then selected both, lined them up at the top, oops, and grouped them. So line to the top and group them. Then I selected the head and lined those shapes up centrally on the vertical axes, and then I made those two blue. But like I say, the colours are just there for guidance on the screen. It just helps with positioning and things just while you're making your file. Okay, so then I wanted to have a little bit of red poking through underneath, so all I did for that was just bring on a basic rectangle. Shift that over there. Turned it to red. Shrank it down so it's a bit narrower. Put it roughly in position. Edit, send behind. And then I moved it up a little bit so that you've got the red showing behind. Now, to make the bolts on the neck, I used this shape here and also a rectangle. And what I did was I shrank that one down and made it smaller that way. I then rotated this one by 90 degrees and reduced the size so that it kind of matched the one I've already got. I put the two together like so, centralised them on the horizontal axes, and then edit, process the overlap and welded them together. I then resized them so I thought they looked right on the Frankenstein Monster's neck. So you can make them as big or as small as you want. So I resized that, and then I duplicated it by selecting it and hitting D on my keyboard. I edit and flipped it on the vertical axis and moved that to the opposite side, and then just made both of those grey for the screen purposes, the bolts in his neck. Okay, so that's got that out of the way. So next we're going to be working on the Frankenstein Monster's face. I'm just going to make it a little bit smaller so we can see what we're doing. So I'll bring him on a little bit so I can see where we're going with this. So what I did was brought on an oval or a circle. It doesn't really matter because you can make a circle into an oval just by resizing it like so. So I brought that on, had a look till I was happy with it, rotated it a little, and I did the eyes a little bit not perfectly aligned because of the nature of him being a monster. They probably weren't going to be perfectly aligned. I duplicated it and again just rotated it so it was a bit skewy, just a bit to give it a bit more character. I duplicated one of these, selected it, shrank it down to make the pupils or the black darker part of the eye, and then I can duplicate that one and position that in the other eye until you're happy. I mean, obviously you're going to do that when you do the paper piecing. So all that we've got left to do next is the mouth. So you can adjust it how you want to make it look like it's got some character. So for the mouth I used this sort of narrow house roof sort of shape, and I brought it on. I'm just going to move him out of the way so we can see what I'm doing. So I brought it on, I flipped it on the horizontal axis and made it thinner like so. I then, when I did that, made it a little bit longer by dragging it out so it's long and thin. I then brought on a square or a rectangle, it doesn't matter which, and I'm just going to shrink that down because I wanted it to be shorter, and then I'm going to duplicate it 3 more times, and then I'm just going to position it for like stitches, for like stitches on the monster's mouth, if you will. So I'm overlapping there, I'm going to overlap here, here, and finally again at the top. So I'm just re-rotating this here, and then I selected everything, well not everything, all that we've just been making, those shapes, and I welded them together. Okay, so that's the sort of shape that I got for the mouth. I'm just going to make it a bit shorter and a bit smaller, like so. Might stretch it out a little bit, rotate it into an angle that looks like the mouth, placed it on just the head, selected the head, only the green part that I've got, and subtracted it, process the overlap and subtract. Now all I need to do is click on that and send it back. We'll send it to the very back and see how we're looking. Send it to the very back and bring it back one layer then. Oh. Send it to the very back and bring it forward one layer. There we go. So, oops, nearly went off then. Okay, so let's have a look where we're up to. So let's bring him in and we'll fit to mat. We can see what we're doing. And you can see it's slightly different than the last one, but you get the idea. So I'm just going to select everything and group it so that I can resize him back down. And then I'll resize him back down, and you can see now, although they're slightly different ones, you can play around with this. If you want to make him a little bit wider, you can. It's up to you. You can make him wider, shorter, taller, and you can make him in various sizes. So you can shrink him down, make him big, and again, that's just another one that you can use on your card. Okay, so I was going to show you as well how I made another sort of ornament, and what I did was a witch on a broomstick as another embellishment. So I went to Xxx, I'll just go there now, the Xxx, and we'll look for a witch. Oh. And I think I chose this one, Witch Evil Scarer. So I clicked on that, did the free download, saved it to my computer, and then went into Canvas. So I went into Canvas, and because it's an image, I want traced in the image function. Choose a file, and it'll go to where I've got my things saved. So I need to go on, look for my photos, and I want the witch. Open. And we want it in colour, and remove the background and preview. And again, we're looking for that solid turquoise image line going around the image, so you'd see what you were going to cut out. So you can see now that's given us a nice turquoise image around. Trace the image and say OK. Do I want it on the picture? No, I just want the outline. So that'll bring the witch onto the page. It's just working a little bit slowly today. And if I just move it out the way, you can see that it's actually left a few inner pieces because they weren't all in one piece. So if that happens, just delete them. You don't need them. So that's the witch, and if we fill it with black to make her stand out, and you can resize that one down for use as an embellishment on a card. So that's just an additional little embellishment that you could use on your projects. So that's it for the Frankenstein Monster. I hope you've liked it. If you have, please like, share and subscribe. Give me a thumbs up, leave comments if you want. Remember to pop across to my blog if you want to download the files. They're there for you, free to download and use in your projects. Okay, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.